Okay. Well, hello everybody. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to do my speech in English because that's the international language that we all speak at CERN. Yeah, I'm very happy. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity for me to be around, to be embedded in this enormous campus. I would like to thank everybody, of course, who made this residency possible, Mr. General Director, of course, the City of Geneva, Canton of Geneva, Cultural Department for the support, and the member of the selection panel. I salute here Madame la Chancelière d'État, Widen Gelpa, and of course, Madame Comey and everybody that I saw before. And I have a special thanks to Ariane Cook, which created Collide at CERN, and Merce Monge, who so efficiently organized this event. I would like to thank all the physicists and engineers I had the chance to meet already and that have helped me to begin, and only to begin, to understand their work. And of course, my inspirational partner, Joao, which will talk just after me. Okay, so I'm not really used to do this kind of talks, so that's one of the things I hope I will be learning here. I don't see my image. Okay, thank you. So deconstruct and scale. Ariane told you that I had this 2-day seminar, and it was really actually very intense. Some of the things were just too much for me, but one of the things that came out and was with Luis Alvarez Gaume, which is a theoretical physicist, and he insisted very much about the idea of this deconstruct and scale. And I thought, well, that's something I can understand because that's what I do. As a choreographer, I deconstruct movement and I have to scale them and put them into space. Okay, so deconstruct and scale. So I thought Luis Alvarez, unfortunately he's not here tonight, but I'm sure he would appreciate that I turn it a little bit upside down. So I've been impressed, of course, by the size of the campus, but just in general, the size of things here at CERN, because you have the very big and you have the very small. So yeah, I'm an embedded choreographer. So actually, it's the largest particle laboratory in the world. It's a unique opportunity, and as an artist, of course, but also as a citizen of Geneva because I live here. So I wish every citizen of Geneva would have this opportunity because we need to know what's going on, and I live over there, on the other side of the lake, just over there. So yeah, the amount of expertise at CERN is just mind-blowing. I mean, all the people that you meet, the very high level, they're the best in their fields. So it's really a high-level, next-level discussion as soon as you start. So their world is a world of experts, but it's also a world of passion, and that's what I realized. They are so passionate about what they do, and that's what we share, because I'm also passionate about what I do. So it's very impressive, and maybe the equivalent for this physicist would be to be embedded in Cinecittà when Fellini was still around. I'm amazed every day. I've been here only for about 30 days. So what do? So I make dance pieces, all right? So that means that I organize, I choose the people I work with, the dancers, the artistic collaborators, put everything together, costume, light, and I'm responsible for the artistic direction of the project. So I'm a contemporary dance choreographer, which means I work in contemporary dance, and contemporary dance is contemporary art, so I work with the art I do art that is happening now, and I get my inspiration from what is happening now. And also I try to always be trying to develop new ideas and new languages. Choreographic thinking means that I think as a choreographer, I see the world as a choreographer, and I always imagine things related to movement. a choreographic system. Choreographic system is how I organize my thinking, this choreographic thinking. I have to try to find systems of movements, which I will talk a little bit later about. And choreographic research. So a choreographer is a researcher because part of the, a contemporary dance choreographer is a researcher because a big part of the process is about research, because we start out from an empty space, which normally is a dance studio. There's nobody inside, a few dancers, and you have to put them into action and then tell them, okay, let's do something. So the research is really part of the creative process and of the production process. But there's not so many opportunities to do fundamental research. We don't really have much context for that, and this is, again, a unique opportunity and a very rare opportunity. In my 15 years career is the first time I have 3 months to dedicate to fundamental research about movement. So for me, choreography is organized motion of bodies through space and time. Space and time, as Mr. General Director said it, of course, that's what we share, that's what we do. We deal with space, we deal with time, and we deal with movement. But also we share the same times, viewer and dancers share the same times together. It's live, it's real time, so what you see is what you get, is really happening at the same time for everybody, and somehow, actually, we grow old together, spectators and dancers on stage. Okay, so when I started, so I get a sip of water. I started doing pieces around 1995. I don't go on with where I started from because I don't have enough time for that. So I did a few solos, 95, 96, and 97. That's when I did my first piece called A plus B equal X. I'm sure many people can understand this here. Okay, so very visual work, suggestive. The body always at the center of my preoccupation, inverse body, deformed bodies, and always this idea of suggestivity. And by suggestivity, I mean it's the idea that that's the spectator that gives the meaning to the image that are presented to him. So I believe that everybody has memories, and by showing them suggestive images, I can trigger those memories. And what they think is what it is. I don't underline, and I don't give the full meaning to my work. 1999, Brain Dance, second group piece, 5 dancers. Suggestivity again, body at the center. This time manipulated bodies, used bodies, detached and careful care of the manipulated bodies. A strong piece, at times a bit violent in images. Yeah, exactly. 2001, the Möbius strip. For me, it was really a big change in the way I was starting to think about my work. Also, my father passed away in 2000, and I think it was also a kind of an homage to his life and work. My father was an abstract painter. I show here one of his paintings, which has something to do also with what we have around here, I guess. Okay, so Möbius strip, you probably all know, most of the people know what a Möbius strip is. A bidimensional geometrical shape that has only one side, so you always stay on the same side, and for me it represents life. And also it's a symbol of infinite and infinity, so for me it represents life. We are like on a Möbius strip, always going around and never in the same place. Always moving, so the piece was really about movement, continuous movement. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video now. Okay. So I choose to show one bit and not like little different part of the piece. I will put this piece also available online and maybe a few others also if you want to see it entirely. Okay, so in this piece, I started to work differently than I was working before. Before I was more directing what I wanted to do. I was more creating myself the movements. But in this piece, I wanted a different type of emotion. So I want to have like an envelope of qualities. And I wanted the dancer to be in action of decision taking and establishing rules and conditions for them to behave on stage. So is not everything is pre-established. They really take decision live. So you have really thinking bodies in action. So, and I think is always interesting to see people really concentrated and taking decision on stage, and that solve a lot of problems of interpretation because they are very busy doing what they have to do. Is a task-based kind of work. And that's what I discovered, what I called a little bit later organically organized movement, which then I've been using it for quite a long time after that. What I mean by organically organized movement is because I don't want is not improvised, is a very stable system. So every show that you're going to see is going to be as stable as the one before, but there might be some differences and some variation from one night to another. But it's a very stable system. So it's really a system. And also, one of the things is this grid that you can see, you see on the floor. There was this grid that I organized, so the dancers. Well, actually, because I was thinking about, how to represent infinity in a finite space, such as a theater is very difficult because by essence a theater is finite, no? So I thought, okay, see, if I put a grid, then this grid could go on forever and can be infinite. So it was a representation of infinity going through this grid. And actually now, more than many years later, I see other things around here that are kind of connected. Okay, so that's the end of the piece. So inside the grid, then the dancer would cover with just very simple white paper, and it was about a big coming down of light. So we would end up really with almost no light at all, and just like dancer would become creatures just moving like you could barely see them. Okay, Under Construction in 2002, that was the piece that came after that. It was a piece with 7 dancers. Möbius what with 5 dancers. I was one of them. Under Construction was with 7 dancers. So this is a kind of a special piece because I discover Craig Reynolds' Boids. Boids are a kind of little creature, computer-generated creature, kind of artificial life. So I'm going to try to show you an animation, okay? It's a little applet. Okay, so these are Boids. So they are autonomous little creatures, so they only have very simple sets of instruction, which in this case is follow the leader, right? And when I click, if I can get my mouse around, yeah, when I click on it, so they change behavior because they follow the leader. Wait, oh, they're lost. Okay, they got him. So now they follow him in a line, yeah? So there's all the, those patterns and crossing. So for me, it's very simple. They use it in video games and many, there's many applications, crowd control also. This is quite old, and it's quite amazing because I dig on the internet and I found exactly the same thing that I found back then. So for me it was quite important because that's when I started to understand that I could feed dancers with instructions and that they would totally respect my instruction. I just got to get rid of this. And have some kind of autonomous behavior. So for under construction, under construction, this piece, so it was different than the Möbius strip. The Möbius strip was organized geometrically, auto-organized in space because of the grid. Wherever they would be automatically organized in a geometrical way. Under construction, it was more about the space between the dancers. So there were more like flocking behaviors, like birds or fishes. And also they had to place themselves with just the general space that they had around them. And this was toward the end of the piece when they would go like under the skin of the theater, which in this case is the dance floor. Okay, that's another image of under construction. Now I jump a little bit. Double deux. Is a piece I did in 2006 with about 12 dancers, and it was really about, it was a big deceleration, a big slowing down. And I know some people are slowing down particles and around here also, not only accelerating them. It was a big slowing down, and with 12 dancers, basically they were working, let me show you some images. At first they were alone, but then they will be in couple. So the space was, you will see this kind of blue line around. So the space like a sport field will be defined. Their movement is totally defined. So they're like proper choreographed. Some of the movement I choreographed myself. Some of the movement they created themselves under my instructions, but they didn't have a fixed space. So their task is really to find their own space live or real time. So it's a bit like running for your life, because you never know what's going to go, who's going to be in front of you. So there's also kind of rules of behavior. And then when they get in couples, then there's all this kind of changing of material and also changing of space. So they always have to look at the couple in front of them. And when the couple in front of them start changing the material, after a little while they start changing material, and the next one start to change material. So you always have kind of vast communicating vessels of material, because you have like it's filling up with material, and when you start to come out, then it's like growing and ungrowing, and there's always three different materials at the same time. Well, this is an extract when they're alone, and not when they're in duos. But I mean, in 1 minute you don't really see the progression. That was the biggest piece I have produced with my own companies. I did a piece with the Geneva Ballet, and I had about 20-something dancers. That was really nice, but as an independent company, it's not possible. Okay, so Spider Galaxies. Spider Galaxies, this is my last piece. Well, not really, but it's like the full-time 1-hour piece created in 2001. And it's a new paradigm in my practice, because now, after all these years of working with systems and kind of self-generating environment, I thought it's nice also to have the virtuosity of the dancers and to have really complex, very composed and very well-knitted choreography, very precise. Because when they know in advance what they do, they are very efficient, super efficient actually, because they are very good dancers. So I need to find a way, how can I generate, movement when you choreograph like traditionally. when you traditionally choreograph, week only takes about 1 minute per day. So you work with the dancers and you make about, at the end of the day, if you have 1 minute, you can be happy. By the time you created it, they learn it and they do it. So that's quite slow. And when you, in this piece, there are 4 dancers or 4 dancers with an individual score. So it's 4 times slower even. And also there is some rules because I wanted to have, there's no repetition, there's no looping, you cannot loop the material, you cannot do more than right, left, you can do right, left, but you can do right, left, this is not allowed. So that creates something that is really like me, the way I'm talking now, is a kind of progression of always ever-changing movement. So maybe I can show you a little bit of images and then I keep on. Okay, this one I have to fire it. Okay, I forgot to mention before, when I showed the Möbius tube, the music was composed by Franz Streichler, and we mentioned that he's somewhere here in the house. This music, actually, Christian Vogel and Carla Scaletti, but Carla Scaletti, she used some of the data from the LHC to compose the music using some sonification process. So it's quite interesting. I cannot really point you out exactly which part because they're kind of spread out into the piece. But quite interesting. So where was I? Yeah, okay, so we started, so I wanted to have movement generators. So movement generators, what I call movement generators is like they use in electronic music. They have those little engines that kind of do things with, based on algorithm, and you put a sound and there's transformation, it becomes something else. But it can be like a really tiny, tiny, tiny particle of sound that becomes almost like a symphony. So I thought, how could I apply this kind of style to dancing to have something that is really kind of precise? So we tried using computers and all different processes, which I will not develop here, but it was not very concluent because it was too slow, and actually instead of creating more movement, we were creating every time less movement, so that was not really the point. So suddenly I had this illumination, and I realized that instead of using machine to tell the dancers what to do, it would be much better to program directly the dancers. Because the dancers are first they are intelligent, and then they have a lot of capacities, they have their skills, but also they can do maybes, they can do more or less, and even when there is a problem, they can use their own creativity to find a solution. So they were much more efficient. So I started to bring them source material, and the source material was photos. So I used about I didn't count exactly, between 700 and maybe 900 photos to create most of the piece. And it was quite amazing because the material that they were creating was influenced, of course, by the source images that were carefully chosen, and because it was a piece about memory, I think. So it gives this kind of subliminal images that pops out. You don't really know what they mean, but you feel kind of related to your own experience. So now I'm going to show you, because we made a little demonstration, because we also do try to explain with visualization what we do. So we encrusted the photos, the source material, in this little demo video. So you see now what they do, they don't do one position, they do like many, because there's many people and they're only 4, so they do maybe each one of them 3 or 4 different positions. And it's called Dance is a Weapon, because it's taken out of an exhibition and a book that was made about those companies in the 30s in America that were quite kind of communist and mixed race and, you know, you see workers. So it's very expressive. So the dancers, they became so good at doing this that at the end I could just bring my photos and they would produce exactly what I was expecting them to do. And because I was not really interested in exactly what they were doing, it was more like the general motion that was interesting me. So it didn't matter if they did, you know, on the left or on the right. What was important was the quality and the dynamic that they were using. Because for me, dynamic is very important in my work. Okay, so I'm getting to the end. Ariane, don't get nervous. I'm almost finished. Okay, collide at CERN, all right? So I'm not going to say what I'm going to do because I don't know exactly, and you know, I'm just starting. So there's those movement generators, and I think this is something plenty of people here, I'm sure, will be able to give me good ideas on that. I think I need to explain them what I do, show them what I do, see if they can come up with some ideas, and then we need to go into my lab, and it's a dance studio, and there is a dance studio in CERN, because there's almost everything in CERN, and there is a fantastic dance studio, which is in the barracks over there, and they have this club of ballroom dancing. It's fantastic, really nice people, and they let me use their dance studio. So amazingly, there's a dance studio in CERN. And then also there's the question of gravity. I think gravity here is a very also important thing. And you know, I'm very naive, and I always thought that gravity was the main force, probably like most of the people. And they told me that no, of course, it's the less important, it's the weakest of all of the forces. And I always thought, and probably as a dancer, that I was just a pile of matter, you know. Because when you do ballet, you kind of reaching for the balance and going up, and when you do contemporary dance, you go down to the ground. So and you root, you know. So and then I realized that it's wrong. That's not the way it goes. We are holding together like this, yeah. And it's very difficult to take this apart. It's impossible actually. Almost impossible, or you need to go into the accelerator. So for me, that's kind of really totally changed the way I think about my body into space, how I move into space, but also now I think that my body is, you know, I'm starting to realize that my body is moving into space, with the space, as we are moving all the time, and we are, you know, stardust moving, you know. So that's really kind of blown my mind, and for me, it's a kind of a new paradigm, I think, in the way I'm going to consider my body. I haven't started to experiment in the studio with this, but I think it's something that's going to be a long-lasting experimentation. And then there's this thing, do physicists think with their bodies too? I found a quote of Einstein, because Einstein has a quote for everything, and there's one quote where he said that he has some kind of muscular thing when he was thinking. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. So do physicists think with their bodies too? Well, I know one that totally thinks with his body and moves all the time. This is Joao Pequenau, and now I'm passing on to him. And thank you very much for your attention.